2024. Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Bishop.
Here.
Starr.
Present.
Bairstow.
Here.
Jones. Casey.
Present.
Moore.
Here.
Kelly. Mr. Chairman, you have the floor.
Okay, Clerk, the Councilman Kelly is on his way. Everybody else, I'm not exactly sure. So first, I want to bring up the Waste Department. All right, Director, Commissioner, welcome to the table. We are going to allow the Commissioner to do a quick presentation, and then we'll move on to the legislation. I personally don't want to spend but so many minutes on this. I just want to give a briefing of the, here you go. Pass that down. Okay, Commissioner, you want to take it over? Or Director, you want to?
To the chair, we do appreciate the opportunity to stop by and give you a little bird's eye view of the dumpster program. I have here with me Commissioner Pruitt, who oversees the waste division, and some of his staff to explain the program and also answer any questions you may have.
Okay. All right, can you kind of announce who's
Yes.
here at the table?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So with me, I have Mrs. Crystal Lajway Patterson, and to her right is Tangela Scott. All right, so thank you, Mr. Chair, for the opportunity. We're starting to get into spring. With spring comes spring cleaning, and therefore we get hot and heavy into the dumpster season. So what I did is I wanted to get I appreciate you giving us the opportunity to kind of get all council members on the same page when it comes to our dumpster program.
Okay.
We provide dumpsters to councilmatic events for public purposes, and I just want to make sure everyone has a full understanding of what we do, because we're here to try to support you. Whatever public event you have, we're going to do what we can to support you, but there are a few constraints that we want to make sure everybody's on the same page.
Okay.
All right, so first of all, we're going to, as I said, these are for public purposes, right? We
Okay.
cannot provide dumpsters for any private individual based on a council member's request.
Commissioner, can you talk into the mic?
So we can't provide any dumpsters for a private individual
Okay.
based on a council member's request. We also can't do it for a private business. We're legally prohibited. I checked with the law department. We're not even able. If you provided NDA dollars to the division, we still can't provide it.
Right.
However, we will support any public event that you have with the proper notice. We want to be able to place these dumpsters going to go into a public place. We always check to make sure that those dumpsters are going into a city land bank lot or a county land bank lot. We do not like placing them onto the private lots unless we have the person's agreement. Additionally, we don't want to leave these dumpsters overnight. Often, council members will ask for us to provide a dumpster for a neighborhood cleanup, placed on a Friday, come pick it up on a Saturday, and we found that to be disastrous for a number of different reasons. One is those locations where you originally asked for the dumpster to go becomes the future dump sites throughout the neighborhood. People, they find that the dumpster was very convenient on the weekend that was provided, and they come back and visit following weekends after that. And additionally, we don't know what's placed inside that dumpster. Oftentimes, they put stuff that we do not want to take to a transfer station, stuff that are either combustible or stuff that is something that we just want to prevent.
Something they couldn't get rid of nowhere else, huh?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. So what we do is we will provide those dumpsters same-day service, and we often staff them if they're placed into a private lot. And we do that to make sure that the residents only get to use the dumpster. We'll find that you'll see a contractor will find that the dumpster is available. They'll pull up and they want to offload their items, and we often turn them away. And that's the reason why we like to make sure we have those dumpsters staffed to try to keep it available for what the intended purpose is. We will leave them overnight if they're in a secure location. Now, there's been cases where, like a council member will coordinate with the local church or a local place that has like a fenced-in area. As long as we can keep the dumpster secured and we have a reasonable expectation that no one will come use it off hours, we will do that as well.
Okay.
But ultimately, what I like to do is kind of explain to you how the process works. So I'm your point of contact. If, most of you communicate with me, but actually the two ladies that actually run the program I want to introduce. That's Crystal Lodgeway Patterson and also Miss Tangela Scott. Those two ladies, they are the ones who run the program. They're the ones that are going to interact with you. They're the ones that are going to coordinate with you to make sure that they get the dumpster placed, the location that you're looking for, on the date you're looking for. So what I ask is that work with these ladies. You can contact me directly, or you contact the director as normal, but these are the ladies that's going to return the phone call. And these are the ladies that are going to coordinate with you to make sure that your needs are met. And I'll turn it over to them if you have anything to add.
So basically, we just like to have the notice. If you want to email us your schedules, the time that you want to have the dumpster, the dates, and then we'll make sure we could try to coordinate and have that available for you. We also ask that we have a few Saturdays that we work, and a lot of councilmen would like to have those dumpsters on Saturday, so we want to coordinate our Saturdays with your Saturdays, so we won't use overtime for the dumpsters. So it's good to get us the dates as soon as possible that you want to use, so we can get it together and get it on the calendar and make sure we have what you need available.
Okay. All right.
Could we get those emails?
Yeah, sure. It's in the, you have to send it.
Mr. Chair, we also will email this out so all council members will have the presentation.
All right, I'm going to open this up for questions from my colleagues.
Mr. Chair.
Councilman Harrison.
Thank you. Thank you. Good morning, Director. Always a pleasure to see you, my brother. Commissioner, former councilman. So thank you for being here this morning, to your staff as well. So listen, thank you for the presentation again. Few questions, few concerns, right? This seems to be going in a very different direction than what, it has been for quite some time. You were a councilman serving this body for many years, so you know how important it is for these dumpsters for residents in these communities. That oftentimes every neighborhood doesn't have a church through the chair where you can put a dumpster or enclose it, right? And weekend access for residents for neighborhood cleanups and clean your streets or events that we do. We do challenges with other neighborhoods. That's something that residents in these communities, including Ward 1, look forward to for many years, right? That these dumpsters are out in their communities over 2 or 3 days. So I'm a little bit concerned that if we don't have a county lot or a city lot and it's not enclosed, that the dumpster is only going to be allowed for 1 day. I think I'm positive through the chair to the director and commissioner that there's a way to figure this out where residents can still be accommodated. In fact, I had residents this weekend at an event we held. They asked, when are the dumpsters going to be put out? We want to, get some cleaning done on our street. We got some stuff we want to throw out of our basement, right? That maybe the senior has to try to coordinate or get help with, right? But if they can plan long term, because typically you can put out 4 items for bulk week, 4 items for bulk week. 3. I don't want to misstate. 3 items for bulk week.
It's 3.
3 items for bulk week through the chair. But they may have a few more items, right, that they need to set out. And the dumpsters really provide that flexibility and that access for them to do that. So I would like for us, and I know the chairman don't want to spend a lot of time on this, but I want to make sure my comments are known, that we really should, through the chair, work on this a little bit more to figure this out, because this is going to be, some of this is going to be difficult, right, to implement, and not for us, but for the residents. For you all, no, it's for you, it's like, hey, this is what it is, right? But for the residents, don't view it that way, right? And they haven't viewed it that way in years when you served on this body as well, right? And I'm not beating up on you, Mr. Chairman, my Councilman Conwell voice. You know, I'm just saying that I think we need to kind of massage this a little bit to figure out, you know, how we do this, right? Because you know, it may be a little difficult. Now, for us, you know, we have since COVID been working with former commissioner and give me my guy name who through the chair who was coordinating the dumpsters. What's his name? No, the guy. What's the
Mike.
Mike Bruner. He, you know, since when COVID happened, we founded some churches in some areas to work. We keep it locked. They only can come during certain periods. We put on our flyers. You can only come between certain times. And so for us, it has worked out since then, except for a place in Glenville where Everlasting doesn't have a parking lot, right? The other church on 2nd, Lakeview, you know the church, on 80 Road doesn't have like a fenced-in spot. So only Glenville we've had challenges with placing the dumpsters, and it had to go in a lot that we actually paid somebody to stay with the dumpsters, you know, throughout the weekend, like overnight security to watch it so nobody will come there and dump, and it's right on St. Clair. So I'm just, you know, I hope that we can discuss this a little bit further, because I see some challenges here for communities that may not have some sort of secure access, you know, to place dumpsters. And secondly, also in the past, we've been able to, if a senior calls us and they have some issues, we've been able to have a dumpster placed at a senior's home to help them, you know, clean their home out. We've had some hoarding situations. We've had some about to be hoarding situations where family members have asked us, can we help? Or the court has asked us, you know, is a way to provide support, you know, for this resident. And we've been able to do that. And so my question, Mr. Chair, to the director and the commissioner, can you provide us his legal opinion from the law department that says that we cannot provide dumpsters support to residents and businesses on private locations, and that we cannot use our discretionary funds? That is absurd to me, that we can't use our discretionary funds. Now, we have multiple discretionary funds. We have block grant, we have casino, and we have other dollars, our RIT dollars, right? So I just do not believe, and I'm not, you know, it may be somewhere written down, but it's hard for me to believe that we cannot use discretionary dollars to support our residents and provide them dumpsters. I can fix their curbs, I can fix their sidewalks, I can fix their roof, but I can't provide them a dumpster to help them clean out their house or clean up their street. Or a business that maybe have caught fire, I can't provide them a dumpster, right? And use my NDA funds to do that, or my other discretionary accounts to do that. That's concerning to me. And if that is the case, then this body needs to fix that, Mr. Chair. That we need to make it where we can use those funds to do those things to support residents. Supporting a business that maybe has been through a traumatic experience, or they are trying to expand and we want to keep them in our neighborhood, that's a proper public purpose. That's a public purpose. That's not benefiting me as an individual. A resident who is a senior who needs help cleaning out her basement, right? That's a public purpose. That's not benefiting me. That's benefiting that senior who we want to be able to stay in their home and age in place of their home. So, you know, I'm curious to see that, well, not curious, but I would like to see that legal opinion from the law department who says that those services cannot be provided. Now, it's one thing if that's a policy decision within the department versus a legal opinion. So, you know, I want to make sure that if that is the case, that we have our eyes on that. And if there's something that this body needs to do to make that where it can be used, that this body, in fact, does that. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Councilman Harrison. I think you kind of summed it up. I think what a lot of members are probably was thinking that, you know, I think you touched on all those points. I want to go to Councilman Brian Casey.
Can we respond?
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Through
I'm ready to move. I'm ready.
Through the chair to the council member and to the body at large, just like with any of the programs within the Department of Public Works, they will always flex to serve the residents. Always. We will take those things back, and we will really take a hard look at this program. It wasn't one that was really on my radar with all of the department, but I don't have an issue with going back and taking a look at this program and making sure that it flexes. I think you all hopefully have seen upon my onboarding that we've been going through program after program and flexing them and going through them to make sure that they better serve or have an enhanced approach to the service. And this one is no different. We definitely can take back it, and this shouldn't be hard for my staff to be able to take a hard look at those things. Let me know what the hindrances are. A lot of those things are things like they mentioned, trying to watch overtime, trying to watch some of the staffing, and all those things can come into play when trying to put together a program. But we can easily step back and take a look at that and respond to you all as far as what we can do to better serve the residents of the city of Cleveland. But we have no issue with taking a look at that.
Mr. Chair, just one brief point.
All right, Commissioner.
Mr. Chair, just one brief point, if I could, and I'll be quiet. Sure. Listen, I truly appreciate the response, Director and Commissioner. Listen, you two are two of my favorites, right? Your responsiveness, you get things done. And I get we need to tighten up some things, right? Trying to manage overtime, not calling you on a Friday at 5 o'clock and want the dumpster delivered at 6 o'clock, right, for the weekend. I get it, right? I just think, again, and I appreciate your response, that some things that we can go back and look at to massage. Some things I absolutely agree with that needs to change to tighten up the system to make it better for you all, right? So that way you aren't running around and trying to get things done at the last minute and at request. So 100% agree, fully on board with those aspects. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right, Commissioner. All right, Councilman Casey.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I just want to reiterate what Councilman Hairston had said. This was a very important program that we were in the past allowed to provide for the residents of the city of Cleveland. So no matter what the legal opinion is that you're going to provide to us, look for future legislation correcting whatever that is to allow this council to be able to provide dumpsters for residents. And on that, Mr. Chairman, to the director or the commissioner or Ms. Robinson or Ms. Scott, what is the cost of a dumpster?
Through the chairs on the next page.
I just want you to tell me.
Oh, so through the chair, so a 10-yard is $242
Right.
for 7 days. 20-yard is $253 for 7 days. 30-yard is $316 for 7 days, and the 40-yard is $380 for 7 days.
And Mr. Chairman, to the commissioner, who would that be assessed to? Does an individual or an entity have the ability to call the city of Cleveland and say, I need a dumpster, and this is what it would cost you?
Through the chair, yes.
A 10-yard dumpster for a 7-day rental is $242.
Correct.
All right. I had a situation that you're aware of 2 weeks ago where we were going to provide a dumpster and somebody wanted a $420 fee for a weekend dumpster. And I don't see that anywhere. Even I got the call looking for a credit card number to reserve a dumpster for $420, and it was going to be either a one-day or a weekend thing. So I want to make sure that before we go forward with this, that whatever's on that side of the table or within your department, that these numbers are going to be solid, and this is what it's going to be, and there's not any additional fees, there's no taxes, there's no drop-off fee, pickup fee, dumping fee, nothing like that. If this is what it is, then this is what it is for 7 days.
Through the chair, this is the actual cost that's in the ordinance.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I appreciate it, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you, Councilman Casey. Councilwoman Marr.
Thank you. All right, I just want to confirm what I think. I'm just going to say it out loud so that I make sure I understand it. Right now, under the current rules that you're presenting here, and I agree with Chairman Hairston's point that we need to, Councilman Hairston's point that we, there have been some changes to the program. But what you're presenting here right now is that if a private individual wants a dumpster, they can call in and pay this price, and then the City of Cleveland will help them get it and then take it away. But for councilmatic events, there's a certain number that council members get for public purposes, and then beyond that, council members can pay out of our discretionary funds for public events. Is that correct, through the chair?
Through the chair, we provide dumpsters for all your public events.
Okay.
So we don't assess the council for any public events at all. And we also don't cap it as long as that we can support the events.
Okay.
So if you have a public event, or if you have a weekend cleanup or things like that, we support your events.
Yep. And for my first few years on council, there was sort of a cap at 4, that you had 4 dumpsters that you could get. And so in my ward, we do spring cleanups. So I'm going to be emailing you guys because and I'll tell you right now, it's Saturday, April 27th, Ward 12. We're doing it all over the ward. So my goal is to have 3 dumpsters out in Ward 12 on that day. But we have other council members who have quote unquote dumpster days where they put dumpsters out at particular lots. And my understanding had been that we had, above 4, we had to pay per dumpster. And I'm seeing that that's incorrect, through the chair.
Through the chair, we have not assessed dumpsters to council members in many years.
Oh, okay.
So as long as it's a public event, we will support it. If we have the inventory, we generally don't say no.
Okay.
Only thing we ask is that you work with us so that way we can nail down the dates,
Yep.
nail down the time and the location, and then that way we can support the event. That's why we ask that you coordinate with us prior to actually publicizing the event, so that way we don't have any mishaps.
Okay. Yep, understood. So in that case, I look forward to sort of some dumpster day programming in our ward. That it had been communicated to me at different times that it was a limit of 4 per council person. So I do appreciate knowing that that's, whether it's changed or I've misunderstood. Either way, I think we all know that what doesn't get thrown into dumpsters, John Campbell is chasing down out in the streets, and so getting more dumpsters out is a good thing. All right, thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Councilwoman Marr. Councilman Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Please excuse, Mr. Chairman, when I asked, we got this proposal in front of us, and this is to alter the existing program. Mr. Chairman, can the commissioner talk about how the existing program was put in place and why it's necessary it appears to make these changes?
Through the chair to the councilman, the biggest issue that we often find, is, especially when it refers to Councilman Harrison's comments, is that we'll leave these dumpsters overnight. And what we find is that they're loaded with things that we can't accept, and it puts our employees at risk. So what we do is our employees at risk when they pick that stuff up or when it's offloaded at the transfer station. We find items in there that we should not be taken to our transfer station. We find items in there that are often combustible. We find items in there that really is something that we don't want in our facilities. So what we ask is that we try to limit that. By doing that is we drop them off on one day, and then we'll pick it up at the end of the night so they're not there overnight, unsecure, where people can put anything they choose in there. Now, if you have a 2-day event or something that occurs over a full weekend, we will drop off both days, but we do not want to leave that dumpster overnight. And that's the biggest thing that we want to prevent, is these dumpsters left unsecure in your neighborhoods where they become a attraction for folks who want to get rid of stuff that they really have no business putting in our facilities.
And how bad actually really is it?
Through the chair, it's extremely bad. Because oftentimes you'll see a dumpster left from a Friday to a Monday, and it'll take us the whole Monday just cleaning up around the dumpster before we can even remove the dumpster from the vacant lot. And then when we open it up, we find stuff in there. We have found propane tanks. We have found carcinogens in there. We have found like a whole containers of combustible materials that, if they get into mixed to our MSW, will set the whole place on fire with just one small spark. So we want to really prevent that. And it's often, once you open up a dumpster, it's like opening up a Cracker Jack box. You don't know what's in there until you let that stuff out on the tipping floor. And that's something that we have to prevent.
So,
Can I also, Mr. Chair, can I add one more? And often, what happens is the dumpsters are for the residents. And what will happen is you'll find contractors who will come, load the dumpster out, and the residents don't even get an opportunity to offload their stuff, right? So by staffing it, by limiting the hours during the day, it's now for its intended use, for the residents to be able to use, not for someone who wants a cheap or free offload of their materials. And that's what we want to do. We want to make sure if you identify a dumpster program or a dumpster day for your residents, we want to make sure that dumpster is for your residents, not for somebody who wants to skirt the rules and be able to use it to save them a buck.
right. So, but can you continue with how was it before and why? We understand that there's an issue of load and overload. Is there a percentage that you could break down? Because I know that in my neighborhood, for an example, we don't have that foolishness. And so I can't talk about everybody else's neighborhood. But I know when we get our cans from the city and we send them to a house location, for an example, for a senior citizen who needs to who are going through some issues or who are going through life changes, or we have also helped the courts out with dropping dumpsters in places and locations where the hoarding is going on. Whenever we've had a cleanup in the neighborhood and we've had to drop dumpsters at locations, sometimes 2 to 3 or 4 dumpsters, we've also had the neighborhood participate in making sure that once those dumpsters were used, there wasn't overloaded, and we're very careful on that, especially with my administration, because I remember a time over 30-some years ago when we used to have dumpster location sites on South Miles and on South Lotus over by Charles Elliott School. It got carried away where you did have what you're talking about, people dumping debris all around, and then you got stuff left over, couldn't get into the dumpster. And then after the dumpsters, Mr. Chairman, to the Commissioner, was removed, then you had people continuing to dump on those existing site locations. So if you can talk about how the program is currently before you talk about the changes, what does the council have automatically right now? What are the rules and regulations currently before we talk about these changes?
So through the chair, we still support seniors through, often we'll get a call from either the Department of Aging or we get a call from a housing court for those issues when it comes to hoarding situations, things of that nature. So we get those calls directly, and we provide those dumpsters for those programs. So that part of the process has not been eliminated. The calls that often the council member will receive, we're receiving the same call. So we already have that on our schedule, and we provide that dumpster as part of that process. In the past, there was a limit on the amount of dumpsters that a council member can receive. It was up to 5 at the time, Councilwoman, through the chair. That we realize that can be problematic, especially if you're trying to really engage your residents and having a community cleanup. So we have taken the number away, so we made it so whatever is necessary for you, we only ask is that we don't leave it overnight. And that's the biggest change, is that the dumpsters are not left overnight, they're not left unsecured, so that way we don't have this huge mess that we're trying to deal with on a Monday morning. So once again, I just want to reiterate through the chair, even if you have a weekend event, we'll drop off on Saturday, pick it up Saturday. We'll drop off again on Sunday and pick it up on Sunday, but we will not leave that dumpster overnight.
And is, Mr. Chairman, so that's the program, just 5 dumpsters, that's it? You can do at the I'm just trying to understand how the current program is working. So you're saying that there's 5 dumpsters for each elected official's territory? What are you saying? How does the program work?
Through the chair, if you have a public event, we don't limit the amount of dumpsters that you have.
I see.
As long as it's a public purpose, we will do everything within our power to support the event. So we don't put a limit as long as it's a public purpose.
I got that. And then the council members have 5 dumpsters currently that explain the program.
So through the chair, we're not limiting the number of dumpsters per council person.
Okay.
So if you have 5 or 6 events that you want to support, we'll support every one of those events. So I'm not going to say that you only got 5 and that's it.
Now,
I'm not
just
going,
put the events on the side.
Excuse me,
So,
first,
Mr. Chairman, if I
everything goes
could-
through the chair.
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Let me reiterate this, Councilman. We only going to spend a few more minutes on this proposal, and then we got to move on. Before you got here, I said that I would let the commissioner brief us on the dumpster. He wants the changes, and we're going to move on. We got 10 pieces of legislation.
I see. So, but I'm just trying to understand here. It's like I'm squeezing blood out of a turnip here right now. I understand the proposition, Mr. Chairman, that events is unlimited. So how many councilmanic dumpsters do we have to give to senior citizens to put on people's homes when they need to clean them out, and to put on business site locations to help clean that up? Because I agree 110% with my colleague, Mr. Hairston, and also with Mr. Casey about it. We are in the proposition of serving our public. And so for me, I asked the question, aside from public events, how does that program work?
so through the chair, there are no dumpsters for private residents or for private businesses that are councilmatic. So all your dumpsters are for public purposes. We are prohibited by law to provide a public dumpster for a private resident. The issue from the feedback we got from the law department is that the source of your NDA funds are public in nature, so therefore we can't use it for a private use. So therefore, unless we get a request from either the Department of Aging, the Cleveland Municipal Court, or for building and housing, we do not provide a dumpster for a resident or for a private business.
Mr. Chairman, this is a major issue, and it's one that's going to have an impact. That's not how we did it in the past. We have a major issue here. And the major issue, Mr. Chairman, to the administration, so you are fully aware, whether it's coming from the courts, it's still for a private purpose. They're trying to get hoarders. It's still on their private property. It's no way you can kind of like unmix this or try to untangle it. I would just, again, ask that you go back, Mr. Chairman, to the director. This would be a major impact in our neighborhoods when we have people who are in need for this. Then we need to be able, as a city, to provide that service. If we're limiting the time, Mr. Chairman, to the commissioner and to the director in terms of the usage, I can understand that. I can get that. I understand also, Mr. Chairman, the proposition of what's happening out there on the site locations, and then having our men or our women in harm's way if there's combustible issues that we're not aware of. But whenever you drop a dumpster, Mr. Chairman, that's the nature of the business. It's like whatever business you get in, that's the nature you're in. Whether you are a firefighter, you're going to face fire. It is the nature of the business. When you drop dumpsters, we can't police who's putting what into those dumpsters. So it's almost impossible to be able to police that proposition, Mr. Chairman. So my recommendations is, we have a program. I didn't see where it was a problem in my neighborhood. It has not been brought to me. I haven't had any emails on it. I haven't had any conversations on it. This is the first time I'm seeing it. And Mr. Chairman, as an elected official, this is an important bloodline in my neighborhood in terms of being able to have these dumpsters dropped where we need to drop them for the purpose of cleaning up the neighborhood and keeping the neighborhood clean. And right now, Mr. Chairman, on the east side of the city of Cleveland, it looks like a war zone. And I don't need to tell you guys about it because you know, most of you who are black who's sitting on that side and have been on the east side. And with the business you do, you know what's going on. It's really bad. And I just want to take this moment to say thank you, Director, for getting to those cleanup sites when they're dumping illegal debris and dumps all over the neighborhood. I really appreciate the response. And I really appreciate the work, Commissioner, that you do in terms of being able to answer those phone calls when I'm sending them in to you and taking care of our citizens. For me, it's 110% about how well we serve the public. And that's what I mean to do, sitting on this end of the table, is to serve them to the best of my ability, so God help my soul. And I think that we need to really look back at this proposition and see how we can best utilize it to serve people. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Councilman Jones. Councilman Richard Starr, you'll wrap us up.
Yep, I'll wrap us up, Chair. Thank you, Municipal Services. Thank you, Waste Department. Through Director Williams, I do an excellent job, and through Commissioner Pruitt, got a lot of things going on. I know I'm working on my cleanups as well as my dumpsters days in our ward. I know Jessica is going to reach out. I actually just text her each of your contact so she can know how to reach out to you all. I just want to be real brief on waste. Overall, do we have a total number of vacant positions in waste? If not, can we get that information sent over as far as vacancies, as far as employment, through the chair?
Through the chair, we actually don't have any vacancies.
You have no vacancies?
Correct.
So fully staffed?
Yes.
You know, you one of the first, through the chair, one of the first departments that I heard say that in a while. Fully staffed, so that is pretty good. Other than that, I just want to yell, I'm definitely going to talk to you offline about some different things that we discussed later on a couple weeks ago. But other than that, I think this is a great program, but we must make sure, Chair, that we get the ordinance that may be already implemented before we see any changes, so we can at least understand from the direction of what the administration is trying to attempt to do, but also understand to make sure it's fit to our needs. Because rather we get dumpsters there, rather we're allowed to use discretionary funds, we still going to be contacted about this no matter what. So rather we make some changes or up it, we still going to have to deal with it from us as council members. So we want to make sure any change that occurs is something that is going to help serve the residents, whether it's public purpose, which is very broad, and when you use public purpose, it can be interpreted as any way. So making sure we understand that law may have one opinion, but if we pass something, that's what it should be. And that's just something I want to make sure we put that through the chair. That's it.
All right, thank you, Councilman Starr. All right, Director, are you representing us on our ordinance number 190, right?
Yes.
All right, we're going to go into ordinance number 190, 2024, by Council Members Bishop and Griffin. This is a departmental request. An emergency ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Works to enter into one or more contracts without competitive bidding with Custom Truck One Source, LP, for the purchase of 2 grapple trucks for the Division of Waste Collection and Disposal, Department of Public Works. Okay, Director, you want to brief us on this piece of legislation?
Thank you, Chair. To the Chair, this is one of those items that when I came to you before, when we were having pretty much a storm of illegal dumping, and we decided to lease trucks for this event. During that time, the idea was to lease with the option to purchase, and now we're coming back to actually purchase those units. Right now, if we were to turn those units back in, it would be an 18-month lead time to build new ones. These are the ones we've already had in use. The staffing has accepted those and really likes using those pieces. So we just want to keep moving forward and keep our programs moving as they have been.
Okay, Director, how many, this ordinance is, how many trucks do you want to order? Is it 2?
Through the Chair, that's correct.
Now, how many trucks do you have now in your fleet, the grapple trucks? 2? Okay. Ordinance number 470, 2020 states that when we heard this in 2020, I'll read it. It's an emergency ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Works to enter into one or more agreements with Custom Truck One Source LP for the rental with purchase options of up to 8 grapple trucks for the Division of Waste Collection and Disposal, Department of Public Works. Okay, explain, when we passed this legislation, we gave you authorization up to 8 grapple trucks. So explain where those trucks, what happened and why we only have 2 trucks in our inventory or in our fleet.
Through the Chair to the to the council member as well. Keep in mind that we also use these in Division of Streets, where we moved the illegal dumping program to that side. If you recall, it used to be split between two different divisions, so the other 6 are with the Division of Streets.
Oh, Division of Streets. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, all right. All right, I'm going to open this up for questions from my colleagues. Councilman Casey.
Thank you, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, to the director, we've been leasing these vehicles since 2020?
Through the chair to the council member, I'm not exactly sure when the dates happened, but based on that, that predates me.
All right. Commissioner, you remember?
Through the chair, yes. So the original grapple trucks were leased during the height of the pandemic. They were leased primarily for the Division of Waste, but they quickly, in 2020, but they were also utilized in Division of Streets for illegal dumping.
All right. And then, Mr. Chairman, to the director, how much have we been paying a month to lease, or a year to lease these trucks? Anybody know? Here comes the answer guy.
The accountant. Through the chair to the council member, $4,500 a month. Keeping in mind that that does go toward the purchase of the vehicles.
All right.
Hold on, Councilman. Repeat that.
That does go toward the purchase of the units.
Okay. Okay, Councilman.
All right. And then, Mr. Chairman, to Mr. Laird, or if you don't mind, Director, he's going to know, how much were these trucks?
Through the chair to the councilman, when we first started off, these were probably, I think, somewhere around 180,000 a piece, somewhere in that neighborhood.
All right. So, Mr. Chairman and Mr. Laird, if we've been paying $4,500 a month for, we'll just say, the last 3 years, right? That comes 36 months, right? That comes to $162,000. Okay. And now you're asking for an additional $90,000 for each truck. You want to tell me again how much the trucks were? Mr. Chairman and Mr. Laird?
Through the chair to the councilman, approximately about 80,000, 180,000 when we first
All
started
right,
this.
so with the option to lease, that money comes off? Because our calculation is now, with what we've paid, if it's only been 3 years, plus the additional 90,000, you're looking for $250,000, more than $250,000 per truck. If it's $4,500 per month, I just took it times 36 months because it's probably been about 3 years. That came to $162,000. Now you're asking for another 90. That brings it up to $252,000 that we've paid, that we're going to end up paying for leased trucks. I see the legislation, the estimated cost is $180,000.
So through the chair to the councilman, I'll check on this, but I believe that this cost is for both trucks. It's 2 trucks that we're asking for.
Okay. So if we take plus 90,000, we're just averaging, yeah. So if you take $4,500 a month times 36, which is 3 years, that comes to $162,000.
So through the
Plus, now you're going to ask for an additional 90,000. We're just guesstimating here. That comes to 250, and about 252,000 per truck. So, I'm just, are we overpaying for these trucks? I mean,
So through the chair to the councilman, again, some of that cost is for lease. We don't get the entire amount towards that.
okay,
So
then,
there-
Mr.
there's
Chairman
a
and Mr.
premium
Laird,
for-
how much of the $4,500 went toward the purchase?
So through the chair to the councilman, I can get that to you. I don't know exactly how much the difference between that was, but.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Councilman Casey.
Mr. Chairman.
Councilman Joe Jones.
Question, when you talk about grapple trucks, can you describe what a grapple truck is?
Thank you, thank you. Through the chair, a grapple truck is a dump truck that has a hydraulic boom. We have two types that's in our fleet. We have one hydraulic boom that has a pincer that picks up small items.
So like a hand?
Correct. Yes,
Okay.
it looks like a three-fingered hand. And they also have another hydraulic boom that actually has a clamshell that picks up large items. And those are the two types we have. We have 5 that have the pincers, and then 3 that actually have a clamshell.
I see. And so is all of those grapple trucks, they're all in your area, in your department?
Through the chair, no, that's not correct. We have 2 that we use in the Division of Waste. We have the clamshells in Division of Waste. In Division of Streets, there's a total of 6. They have 4 with the, they have 5 with the pincers, and then 1 they have with the clamshell.
And so right now, this legislation, Mr. Chairman, in front of us is to actually to buy out the 2 of these grapple trucks, which are in your division or in streets?
Standby.
Those are in streets. No, these are 2 in streets. These are we're keeping in the streets. You don't have any of those. Remember. Through the chair to the councilman, these 2 grapple trucks are going to be actually situated in the division of streets for the illegal dumping program.
So these are going to be to the streets program for the illegal dumping?
Yes.
So the streets division right now has 6 grapple trucks, right?
So through the chair to the councilman, when we started this program, we started with 8. Throughout the program, we realized we didn't need all 8. So some of these were returned through the chair to the councilman. So right now, we have 2 that we actually have. The other 6 have been returned.
Okay. All right. So, all right, time out. I'm confused. How many grapple trucks do we have currently in the Department of Streets and in the Department of Waste?
You have yours. How many do you have? How many do you have? 2. He does not have 6. He's got 2. Through the chair to the councilman, the Division of Waste has 2 grapple trucks.
The Division of Waste has 2 grapple trucks.
And the division-
That's the Division of Waste.
And the Division of Streets has 3.
And the Division of Streets has 3 grapple trucks. Is that all the grapple trucks that we have in the city of Cleveland in your department, Mr. Chairman, to the director?
Through the chair to the councilman, those are the only ones that I know of in our department.
Is that
Through the chair to the council member, yes. We have a total of 5 in the department. We have had throughout the last season, because of the flexing throughout, trying to right size and handle all the illegal dumping when we were playing catch up, we did lease and move things back and forth. So that's why there's a little discrepancy in the numbers of what we had and some of those items. But we can definitely tighten up that reporting mechanism going forward. But when we were leasing and going back and forth, we did get a little off track. That's why these numbers. And then we moved the program through to another division as well. So that's where that flex did happen. But we do know we have 5 in our fleet for the department.
I see. So just make sure I'm clear here. So right now, we started out with 8 trucks. We saw that we didn't need those 8 trucks, and then we reduced down to 5 trucks currently.
Through the chair, that's my understanding. Some of those things happen that predates me.
I see. So now technically the city of Cleveland has 5 grapple trucks. Is that, Mr. Chairman, to the director, all we need to have is those 5 grapple trucks?
As of Through the chair to the council member, as right now, that's what, we also have to pair the amount of equipment we have with the staffing. So those things are always fluid, but as of right now, this is where we need to be.
I see. And so, Mr. Chairman, just of earlier testimony, Mr. Casey, we were paying $45,000 or $4,500 per truck. And at the end of the lease, the 3 years, we came to a total of $162,000. Does that sound kind of right about where you are on the numbers, Mr. Chairman, to the mathematician over here on your side? your accountant.
Through the chair to the council member, that is close, but we are going to go back and make sure that we have an understanding of what the lease purchase and how much went to the lease versus how much goes to the purchase. So we'll have to clarify that.
So we don't. So right now we don't know that yet. So, but we're asking for the council to purchase it, but we don't have a number.
We have the total number, sir. We just want to make sure to clarify what we have paid and what actually went to the purchase amount. So we just have to clarify that for you.
So how much is it going to cost us? Because you're asking us to give you authorization to purchase these 2 grapple trucks remaining, whatever the difference is. Do we have those numbers? Do we know what that is?
So through the chair to the councilman, I'm holding a requisition here for this for $154,000.
Okay. So it's going to cost $154,000 for each truck to
To the
purchase
chair
it?
to the councilman, yes. This is a total for both trucks.
Is that for both trucks? or
both
just-
trucks.
Okay,
Oh,
so these are-
both trucks.
So each truck is what per truck? Because I'm asking you, the mathematician. I don't want to. My calculator here is ringing, so I don't want to interrupt it.
I'm sorry, through the chair to the councilman.
Per
what was
truck,
the
how
question?
much are we paying for per truck?
What's the math there? 100, 70-some thousand, 76. $76,000. $78,000. $77,000.
Estimated 180, so it's 150
Yeah, I'm trying to do that.
for two, for two. Yeah, so we put this in first, cost until later.
Mr. Chair?
About 77,000 through the chair.
How much?
About 77,000 per truck.
Okay.
Do the math here.
Mr. Chairman, I'll yield to Mr. Harrison if he wants to say something on the point.
Councilman Harrison, you got a point?
Briefly, Mr. Chair, I would just make a note that on the ordinance it says estimated cost, as sometime we have room in case there's differences. As we heard from the assistant director, the requisite that they have is actually for a lower cost than the 180. So that probably could be throwing off the numbers here, right? We see 180 on the piece, but 154 is what he's saying here. So as a suggestion, maybe, you know, if this passes, that before finance, that we get the correct numbers so that way we all can be on the same page.
Right. Okay, yeah, okay, Councilman Harrison. I'm gonna, as soon as Councilman Jones wrap up, I'm gonna basically tell you guys what we need to have. Okay, go ahead, Councilman Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, to the director. So, you know, making sure, Mr. Chairman, to the director that when you bring these proposals, it's not confusing, right? So what helps me to be able to understand things a little bit better is making sure that whatever the ask is, we're clear about what that is. And so we've had to sit here and deliberate on how much these trucks cost a month, break it down to how many years, and then went down to kind of getting an idea where are we 6 trucks or 8 trucks, and not knowing where we are in terms of our inventory kind of leaves me perplexed at this end of the table, Mr. Chairman, to the director. So what would be very helpful for this council person and this council is to make sure you got your paperwork right. When those questions, we don't even have to ask them because you got the breakdown right in front of us. We know what we're doing as soon as we take a look at the paperwork. So having that, Mr. Chairman, would be my suggestion, especially when we're talking about city dollars and how we spend city funds, is to make sure that, because this is an open public format, to have any level of confusion at the table of how many trucks we got, how much we're paying for the trucks, how much we're asking for in the legislation, Whatever that ask is needs to be very clear, Mr. Chairman, and we shouldn't be kind of like tossing back and forth at the table.
Okay.
I have no further questions, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you, Councilman Jones. Councilman Richard Starr?
Yes, Chair, through the few questions that my colleagues was asking, I would like to put a request for our staff to work with Public Works for us to get like a full inventory of equipment that has been purchases, what we currently have on deck right now. Also, the reason why I'm asking this question is because it seems as if, well, the last 2 years that I've been here, we've purchased equipment, and then we purchase equipment every year, and then we really don't align it so we can be able to understand why certain things are coming back to the table, so we can know what we actually are replacing. And then also from the questions that my colleague Councilman Casey asked, I know we said we thought about 8 grapple trucks, then we came down to 5, then we think about, hey, we may need 7 more. Like those type of things can be confusing. And in order for us to understand how we are spending taxpayer dollars, I think it's best if we do, through our staff, work with Public Works to get some type of inventory list of different equipment that we have currently, rather it broken down to let us know if we own that equipment, obviously what year we purchased those equipment, and then those who are leased. So we can also understand which has been leased, but then also if it's leased to purchase, to see the breakdown of what it's going to cost to purchase it after the lease is up, or what portion of the 4,500 on all equipment, so we can get a breakdown of where we at. And then also through our staff, can we also request any maintenance upgrades that we possibly have had on these equipment, because we may purchase something and then we haven't factored in that it may need some maintenance annually. What does those type of maintenance look like, or if it's something that coming up and we need to be on the lookout for, or those type of equipment. I think Ms. Saban has got it, so I definitely want to put that request, and if we can, the sooner or better. Through the chair, I would just ask to the director, what's the estimated time frame to possibly gather that? Just because I know we ask sometimes, some things are quicker to get, and some things may take some time, so we could be at least expected around the timetable to get it.
Through the chair to the council member at the end of the day.
Okay, thank you so much. I appreciate that, Director, and that's all I had, Chair.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Through the chair to the council member, my staff should be listening now and start.
Okay, so they're working through that. And then also, Chair, I was looking at this ordinance, and I wanted to ask one question. Under ordinance 190-2024, where it says Section 2, that says that the contract or contract authorized shall not exceed $180,000 and should be paid from the funds number 2SF 71670SF300, and right there it says any funds approved by the Director of Finance. That part where it says and any funds approved by the Director of Finance, I would like to ask to the chair, to the director, what's the reason for that part of that section 2?
Through the chair to the councilman, that's typically added because when you, depending on the type of funding source you have, if you run out of funds in that area and you've got to find another place to make up the difference, you don't want to have to come back to ask for, can I use this funding source? Can I use a capital funding source? Can I use this type of funding source? You want to be able to make the purchase with the funding sources you have available. So that's why that piece of.
So therefore, let me make sure I hear it right. That's so the director can then say, well, we got more additional funds elsewhere. Just go ahead and purchase it through the chair.
So for instance, if we come back and in the pot of money that we had for this purchase, let's say we only had $150,000 in that pot, but we wanted to make up the difference through the chair to the councilman, through general fund or some other place, we can do that because we have the ability to do that through this.
And then that means, to the chair, that means the council be surprised that we did something without having no notification?
Through the chair to the councilman, we wouldn't purchase anything additional. It would just be the purchase we said we were going to do. Just for instance, if we had a capital fund that only had $150,000 in it, and we need $4,000 to make up the difference. So if we can go to another source to say, oh, there's $4,000 in the general fund to be able to make up that $4,000 difference. That's the purpose of having pieces of that in there. Not to make any additional purchase through the chair to the council.
We get it next time. We get it. Okay.
All right, thank you. That's all I had.
All right, thank you, Councilman Starr. All right, this piece of legislation, the water is a little muddy here, so I'm going to make some requests, and we're going to pass it along unless there's some objections. I want to know how many trucks do we have in each department? When were they purchased? How much did they cost? How much have we spent on all these trucks? When did we send these trucks back? How much the new trucks are going to cost? So I want to get a full and complete breakdown of these grapple trucks from the time we got them to today, and all of the grapple trucks that we are going to purchase going forward, how much will they cost, and what's our plan for them, okay? I don't think I left anything out. Okay, all right. So is there any other questions on these grapple trucks?
Mr. Chairman,
Councilman Jones?
can you add, when you bring the proposition to us before, which was confusing earlier, why lease if we can just go ahead and purchase the truck because we're fundamentally paying for it at the full price? So what is the evaluation? So if we could add on to that, Mr. Chairman, why would you make the decision to lease when you can just go ahead and purchase it?
Okay, also, I want you in our breakdown, I want to know when will this department purchase a grapple truck versus lease a grapple truck, and why, okay? All right, is there any other questions?
No further
Ordinance
questions,
number
Mr. Chairman.
190.
None ready.
2024. Is there any objections on ordinance number 190, 2024? Okay, we want those before finance, or we'll hold this piece up, okay? All right, without any objections, ordinance number 190, 2024 is approved. Please sign. Ordinance number 162, 2024. By council members Bishop and Griffin, by departmental request. This is an emergency ordinance authorizing the purchase by one or more requirement contracts of recycled or virgin asphalt concrete for the Division of Streets, Department of Public Works for a period of 1 year with 2 one-year options to renew, exercisable by the Director of Public Works. Okay, Commissioner, Director.
Through the chair to a council member, this is our typical ask for our asphalt program, especially for our resurfacing program, our 2024 program. We are looking forward to hitting the ground running. That's why we're here now, to make sure that we can, as soon as the plant's open, we can really get started, and as soon as we get the weather. As you can see, the weather is starting to turn for us, so we want to be able to maximize our efforts to get through the program successfully before the weather changes again. I have Commissioner Scott here for any questions.
Okay, Commissioner, why should we pass this contract?
Mr. Chairman, the current contract we have is in place. This contract will expire in August of this year. So this will be for the new contract, which expires in August. We are getting ready to start in earnest on our pothole repair program, both main and residential streets. And then we're going to, around mid-April, we're going to start our resurfacing program, our ward resurfacing program. And I appreciate all of the cooperation so far I've gotten from City Council in terms of getting your list so we can be more efficient. Thank you.
All right. All right. Is there any questions on ordinance 162, 2024?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Councilman Jones.
Mr. Chairman, who do we have the contract with, and do we have any paperwork on the contract? Anything visual other than a request?
Mr. Chairman, to the council, our current vendor is Kokosing Asphalt. And again, that's the current contract, which expires in August of this year. This new contract will have to be competitively bid.
And Mr. Chairman, can we get a copy of the previous contract? As long as I've been sitting here at the table, I've never, I know we've talked about asphalt. One of the problems I'm having, Mr. Chairman, is we got some streets that we put asphalt on, we resurfaced them, and they're horrible. And they're falling all apart. And I don't know, it's like a kindergartner put it together. And so I'm in a bad place right now. We're just 6 years in. I got entire streets that falling apart, big, huge truck holes in them have surfaced. And I was told that that the asphalt should at least last you anywhere between 8 and 11 years if you put it down. Now, what kind of asphalt is it that we're buying? Do we have some paperwork that tells us what we're buying? Do we know how much we're buying? Who we're buying it from? How does that work?
Through the chair to the council member, all asphalt is tested. There are specs that they have to meet. I'm not exactly sure. Like, we're buying virgin asphalt. There is some recycled that's part of it, but for the most part, we're purchasing all virgin asphalt that is tested, and we are also able to, if we do feel like there's an issue with the quality of material, we can test in the middle of the seasons as well.
So explain, Mr. Chairman, you said virgin asphalt testing. So we're only buying one type of asphalt, Mr. Chairman, to the director?
Through the chair to the council member, asphalt that's the product.
But there's different grades of asphalt, is that correct, Mr. Chairman, to the director?
Yes, there are, through the chair to the council member, yes, there are different kinds of asphalt. We're just purchasing virgin asphalt for road repair.
So, Mr. Chairman, to the director, what grade is that?
This 404, you got 304 and 404. Okay, Mr. Chairman, to the councilperson, it depends on the application that we're using for when we grind and we put the binder course
I can't
down.
hear you, Mr. Chairman. If
When
you
we
could be
grind
so
the
kind and
streets and
speak in the
we put the
microphone.
binder course down for the resurfacing, we use a 304 asphalt. That's a larger stone. That creates the base. Then for the topping, we use a 404 asphalt, all of which is purchased off the same contract. If we get into some specialized treatments, we can order specialized asphalt on demand, such as a tennis court or something like that. If we end up having to get a special request to do something like that, we will use a sand-based asphalt. So we have the ability to order 2 or 3 different grades of asphalt, all of which meet the ODOT specs.
I see. So, Mr. Chairman, can you, because what we're talking about is we're buying that volume. Is that correct, Mr. Chairman, to the director?
Mr. Chairman, we are buying, this is a requirement contract that allows us to purchase what we need.
Right. So then what do we need, Mr. Chairman, to the commissioner?
We need enough asphalt to satisfy our various programs, one being, again, residential resurfacing, the other being the pothole program and the general repair program.
So how much do we need, Mr. Chairman?
It varies. It depends on how much we intend to, how many square yardage we're going to do in terms of asphalt, but in terms of resurfacing. But in general, we'll purchase about $2 million.
And see, here's how much?
About $2 million.
So you're purchasing $2 million in asphalt. So how many tons, Mr. Chairman, are we purchasing?
Well, it's $68, and the current contract is $68.27 per ton.
How much?
$68.27 per ton.
So our cost in the actual asphalt is not too bad if we're spending $2 million. So where is the other cost? Is it labor?
Mr. Chairman, we have a lot of...
Because this is good to know, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman, in terms of, are you speaking of street resurfacing?
You're saying it costs $2 million on an annual basis to buy asphalt. Is that correct? Am I hearing that right?
Approximately $2 million in asphalt annually, correct.
Mm-hmm. And so it's $68 or $68 on roughly per ton. Is that right?
That's correct.
All right. And how many tons are we using a year?
I have to do the calculations, sir. I don't have that in front of me right now.
Yeah, yeah, Councilman, Commissioner, has everybody turned in their streets?
No, not yet.
So we don't know how much we're going to need, Councilman, until all of the council members, all of their streets get turned in. Okay, so we have an assessment
Mr.
on
Chairman, I appreciate the gift and handing out to him, but Mr. Chairman, the commissioner's been here before since I was born. And so I asked him a question of how much he would have to need a year. Do you have a rough estimate, Mr. Chairman, how much you use on an annual basis?
Mr. Chairman, to the councilman, again, this is a requirement contract, which allows us to order on demand what we need. That number changes every year. In general,
Right.
In general,
Thank
we
you.
purchase about $2 million worth of asphalt per year that satisfies our local resurfacing program. You can add probably another $500,000 to $800,000 to that for our pothole program and then our general repair program.
I see. And so then, Mr. Chairman, let me ask you this. So you would have all that information spread out, a spreadsheet for each year that you purchased it, how much you used, and the whole 9 yards?
Absolutely.
All right. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to request to get that information, please, from the director. I'd like to take a look at that, how that works. And now, Mr. Chairman, we started out with this in terms of the quality of the asphalt. So I don't want to get lost here. But it's really good to see that we do use 304 and 404. So is that what we use, Mr. Chairman, to the director in general? We give it a 304 stone as an initial coating, Mr. Chairman, then the top coat is 404. And so with that being stated, Mr. Chairman, is that a different type of grade, those qualities, or how does that work? Can you have a better 404 or a better 304 stone with a different grade? How does that work?
Mr. Chairman, scientifically, I can't get into the science of it, but what I can tell you is it's the size of the stone. So the 304 is a larger stone that you use for the base repair, which gives the base of the street strength. And then the 404 is the smaller stone, which makes it for a smoother top surface and a smoother drive and better drivability for the vehicles.
So there's no such thing as a grading system of A through A, B, or C, or D, or anything. That's what I was looking for.
Not that I'm aware of, no.
So there's no grading system
sir.
there. So it's just the numbers of what the sizes of the stones are.
That's correct, sir.
I see. And so, Mr. Chairman, no further questions.
All right, thank you, Councilman Jones. Councilman Richard Starr?
Thank you, Chairman. I have just a few questions regarding just the street resurfacing program. I know during budgeting, I spoke to the budget hearings about, I feel that money that we need for our street resurfaces should be already in the budget without us having to use any additional funding from council. And we should still possibly be able to select the streets, but I know that's another something we have to deal with later outside of this. But I definitely want to get an understanding of the street resurfacing. I'm gonna get my list to y'all. That's noted, cleared up. I am one of the ones who needs to get my list. I see the routine, repeated email. I got the document. You know, sometimes you got these certain streets, and then you start getting some calls, and you say, hey, I got to really sit down and do this ride-along to make sure we get the right streets resurfaced in Ward 5, particularly those F streets, those D streets, to try to get those cut up so we can work up. So one thing I would definitely ask, through the asphalt that we use toward the city, have we ever thought about doing a recycling program in-house? To the chair.
Mr. Chairman, I'm kind of glad you asked that. The city of Cleveland has been using recycled asphalt for quite some time. And this year in particular, we have 3 what we call recycled asphalt machines that we use in-house. They're made by a certain manufacturer. I don't want to use the name right now. But we own 3 of them. And we rehab them at each year after the January through April season before the plants open. So during the winter months when asphalt is not available through the plants, we produce our own using asphalt grindings that we take from the resurfacing program. We stockpile that. Then we put an additive to that, run them through these 3 machines, and we produce limited amounts of recycled hot asphalt. This really helps our pothole program immensely as opposed to using other materials that don't last as long.
Okay, because that's something I was questioning, because I was doing some research and I was trying to look at some of the reasons if we didn't have that. But I'm glad to see that we do have 3 machines that we are using to recycle, because when you start thinking about that, you got to think about the cost, the space, the training, regulations, and outsourcing. All those different things come into a factor when you're thinking about doing your own recycle. But definitely I would like that just to be educated real quick to the chair. What are the different types of asphalt are there that exist? Have we assessed if we're using the most effective one one, or is it something we should possibly explore that may be comparison to what others may do in different cities? Any assessment from the street division of how we use asphalt or the type that we have? I know hot mix is usually one of the more familiar ones that a lot of people use. Have we tried to use either warm mix or any cold mix, or even make sure I said polymer modified asphalt? Is that something we tried, either one of those things? To the chair.
Mr. Chairman, to the councilman, again, it depends on what you're using it for. There are many different mixes. Our engineering department also weighs in when we write the specs for our asphalt. So we try to meet the engineering specs and the ODOT specs when we put these bids out for our asphalt. Our application calls for the types that we're using now, 304, 404, and an occasional sand mix. But there are polymers that you can add. There are rubberized compounds you can add. Maybe like if you're doing a area where you got heavily traveled buses or trucks, and you want to prevent it from pushing up in the curb lane, you might want to consider putting some additives to that sometimes. So it depends on where you're applying it, but in general, we're using the type of asphalt that we should be using for the type of work we're doing.
Thank you, and that's all the questions I had, Chair.
All right, thank you, Councilman Starr. When will the asphalt plant open?
The first plant from Kokosing opened today.
Today? Okay. All right, I'm gonna go to Councilman Harrison.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll be brief. Listen, I'm glad you've been here for a long time, all right? I appreciate your knowledge, your wisdom, and just your responsiveness, when we all reach out to you. We thank you for that. This Public Works 2.0, in effect, all right? I didn't know that we can recycle and produce our own. I mean, that's excellent, right? I mean, I would have never thought that we would be doing that type of work. And so I'm glad to hear that we are doing that, because I did notice that when Sand sent his crew out along St. Clair and other places I've seen them out, it's hot. It's not like that cold patch that we were using before, right? And I have noticed the difference when they fill them. They're not popping back out quickly. They actually stand in place for quite some time. And they were blowing the holes, man, and packing it in. I see the steam coming out that big yellow thing on the back of on the truck. And then I see the guys on the roller coming down as well. So that's good to see. And I wondered, because I didn't realize, I said, the plants are open, they're getting hot asphalt, but no, we're making it ourselves. That's great leadership from the Streets Department and Public Works as a whole. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Councilman Harrison. Councilman Jones?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I echo the sentiments of my colleague, Anthony Harrison. I also appreciate the time that you've been here. And certainly having you here has kept the city stabilized in that area of Streets Division. And I really appreciate the fact that, Mr. Chairman, when I do make phone calls, you answer that phone. And you try to do the best you can to get back with me to take it in a timely fashion. So I just want to echo that. I have those same sentiments, even though at this end of the table I'm always pushing hard to make sure that, we get, and I know that you do the best you can to deliver quality. My question, Mr. Chairman, is the asphalt company, is it an actual asphalt company we work with, or a series of companies that we work with, we get our asphalt from? How does that work? Or do we make it up ourselves and put it on the streets? The asphalt that we purchase and we buy and we put out there, how does that process work?
Mr. Chairman, again, we bid a competitively bid contract to the various local asphalt plants that are in this region. Based on how the bids come in, we make a selection on lowest and best bid as required by our purchasing principles. So long story short, we have pretty good vendors. I'm very pleased with the vendors that are competing, and I think in either case, depending on price, we'll make a wise selection.
And who do we have currently as our vendor for asphalt?
Mr. Chairman, through the councilman, as I mentioned before, we have Kokosing asphalt plant.
Kokosing. So we only use one asphalt company right now?
That's correct. Kokosing won the last competitive bid, and we've been using them for the last 2 seasons.
I see. And are they out of Cleveland, Mr. Chairman, to the commissioner?
I think their headquarters may be based in the Columbus area. I'm not quite sure, but they do have local distributors here in Cleveland.
I see. And then, Mr. Chairman, lastly, with the asphalt that has to be put down on the streets, there's different applications, and this is just a miscellaneous somewhat. Lee Road, Mr. Chairman, thank you for the point of privilege, needs help. So we've been hoping that we could have gotten it redone by now, but it has been languishing on the books to hopefully get some work there. But in the meantime, we have some real rough patches that we need to take care of. Can we work to take care of that, Mr. Chairman, to the director?
Through the chair to the council member, yes, we can take care of that.
I appreciate that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Commissioner.
All right, any other questions on ordinance number, 162, 2024? Seeing no further questions, ordinance number 162, 2024 is approved.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Ordinance number 231, 2024, by council members Bishop and Griffin. This is also a departmental request, an emergency ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Works to apply for and accept the grant from the Ohio Department of Education for the 2024 Summer Food Service Program at Camp George Forbes, authorizing the purchase by requirement contract of breakfast and lunches of a food products, beverages, condiments, and paper products to implement the grant for the Division of Recreation, Department of Public Works, and authorizing the director to contract with various nonprofit organizations for the implementation of the program. All right, Director.
Thank you.
This is a standard piece of legislation.
That is correct. The one thing I would point out is that this program is for every recreation center. There are no centers that are left out of this program. I do have Commissioner Gisson-Tanner here to answer any questions, but this is the program that we do run annually.
Okay. All right, Commissioner, you want to comment?
Through the chair to the committee. Yeah, this program has been in existence now for 20-plus years from ODE. It's a grant program, refundable grant program, so it doesn't cost the city anything. Take care of our kids that go to camp every summer.
All right, is there any questions on ordinance number 231, 2024? Seeing no questions on ordinance 231, 2024 is approved. Please sign it.
Thank you.
All right, Director, I think that concludes this.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Director O'Keefe? No, I'm sorry. Ordinance number 227. Morning.
Sorry about the wait. I didn't-
All right, Director. Ordinance number 227, 2024, by council members McCormick, Harrison, Bishop, and Griffin, by departmental request. This is an emergency ordinance authorizing the directors of capital projects, port control, and/or public works to enter into one or more agreements with Cuyahoga County and the Cleveland Metro Parks to construct an all-purpose trail on the north side of North Marginal Road, including a maintenance and repair agreement with the Metro Parks for a term of not to exceed 20 years with 5 20-year options to renew, exercisable by the Metro Parks, authorizing one or more submerged land leases with the state of Ohio and future subleases for a term up to 99 years with 2 50-year options to renew, exercisable by the appropriate director, and to replace or otherwise adjust existing adjacent submerged land leases and subleases, authorizing one or more encroachment permits to the county, authorizing acquisition of real property, easements and work agreements, conveyance of temporary deeds of easements, and authorizing any other agreements to effectuate this ordinance. Okay, Director, that's a lot of words.
That's
Can
a
you
lot
kind
of
of sum it up?
Sure. Thank you, Chairman, and to the committee as well. I have Katie Moore with me at the table. She is our Special Projects Manager for MOCAP. Trevor Hunt is with the county, and Commissioner DeGennaro is here as well. And they will discuss in more detail to explain all of these words, what we are trying to accomplish today. And basically, that's to allow the City of Cleveland to grant to Cuyahoga County the opportunity to construct the public improvement for the North Marginal Road connector from East 55th Street to East 9th Street. They will get started with the presentation. They will provide you the details, and then we can come back for questions.
Okay.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I would just like to sort of set the table for this project. This is a visionary project that has been in the works for many years. This project will improve a stretch of North Marginal from East 9th to East 55th, which is heavily used by pedestrians, but currently does not really provide many amenities. There's no lighting, no sidewalks. There's minimal signage and minimal road markings for the pedestrians. This trail connection will connect with a trail that's currently owned by Metro Parks, owned and operated by Metro Parks, that runs from East 55th out to Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard. So effectively, this connection will create a trail connection from downtown all the way out to University Circle. The trail will be managed by Metro Parks pursuant to an agreement with the city once it's constructed. Cuyahoga County will construct the trail. It's approximately 2.7 miles of all-purpose trail that runs, again, from East 9th to East 55th, connecting to the existing Metro Parks trail. The legislation also authorizes the Director of Capital Projects to enter into a three-party agreement with Cuyahoga County and Metro Parks for the design, construction, and maintenance of the trail. And then, as you mentioned, there are several easements that are needed. The affected properties are under the jurisdiction of Port Control and Public Works, and so Cuyahoga County is seeking temporary easements on those properties for driveway replacement, fence and gate installation, grading, landscaping, and the like. Finally, the city will contribute $130,000 to this project. The total project budget is over $13 million. And I would like to turn it over to Trevor Hunt from Cuyahoga County. He is the Lakefront Project Manager, and he will give you more detail about the project.
Good morning. I have a slideshow presentation. If you don't mind, I can run through that briefly.
Okay.
So as Commissioner DeGennaro mentioned, this is a 2.7-mile path extending from East 9th Street here, just all the way down to East 55th Street. And it will connect to the Cleveland Metro Parks, East 55th Street Marina, and then essentially the Harrison Dillard Bikeway. So from a regional context, we don't have an off-road in the city of Cleveland. We don't have an off-road trail. We do have a bike lane down Euclid, as you all know, but we don't have an off-road separated path that connects the east side to downtown Cleveland, like we will have after this. So these are some photos for context. What's out there currently, it's kind of a hodgepodge. Some areas do have a sidewalk, some areas don't. But for the majority of it, it fends pedestrians and cyclists to be in the middle of the road competing with traffic currently. So the purpose and need, this is captured from a Google Street View. It kind of tells it all, right? And as Commissioner DeGennaro mentioned, this has been in the works for quite some time. This actually grew out of a 2015 Transportation for Livable Communities initiative funded through NOACA. It was supported at that time by St. Clair Superior Development Corporation and the Warehouse District. Shortly after that, I say shortly, about 6 years after that, the Cleveland Metro Parks and Cuyahoga County came to the table and they wanted to construct this. That's where we are at today. So this will be a separated shared use facility. We are adjusting the right-of-way. I shouldn't say we're adjusting the right-of-way. We're adjusting the roadway, the cart lane, to accommodate this trail. We're moving it slightly to the south. So again, here's just a conceptual. This was based off of the 2015 TLCI study, and I have some more renderings that will show what it looks like. So the properties involved, you can see the largest of which is the Burke Lakefront Airport property, and I believe there's, apart from them, 6 other individuals or individual property owners that are involved here. So the top half of the slide details the properties there. On the western end, the bottom half of the slide details kind of the easternmost properties. Several yacht clubs, as you see, Sailing Inc., which is a business that supports the watercraft industry here in Ohio, and then Shoreline Apartments.
Oh, just for clarity, can you go back for that slide? Now, the top portion, that's where the path will be, in the pink, right?
Yep. So, and the laser's not showing up, but the pink line delineates where the multi-use path will be. So it will be on the north end.
So down on the bottom where the other yacht clubs are, I'm trying to figure out how is this all set up. That's all on the north side of the marginal.
It's all on the north side of North Marginal Road. Yep. And there's right of way to accommodate this. There will be a 10-foot path throughout. There's a small pinch point for about 100 feet where I think the trail has to go down to 8 feet.
Okay, Councilman Jones.
Is that where the fencing is going to be? Is that what we're talking about, the fencing on the other side of the fence? I answered the question again. Those lines, are they right with the photos you showed us, right next to the fencing line? You're going to like redevelop that portion? So that's where it's going to be, right next to the road?
Yep, right next to the road, but there will be a curb to separate the bike path.
I see. Thank you, Mr.
So the fence will be to the north of that.
Okay. Okay, go ahead.
There has been public engagement and public outreach, along with individual stakeholder outreach to all these. I've listed them here on the screen, but this dates back several years now. We've met out there in person with all these entities. And as Commissioner DeGennaro mentioned, we, the county, we're in charge of design and construction administration. The Metro Parks will be the operations and maintenance. City of Cleveland is providing right-of-way, as well as the $130,000 Commissioner DeGennaro mentioned. What we'll get a shared use path, 11-foot travel lanes, car travel lanes. So North Marginal Road will be shifted slightly to the south. There's new lighting for the western portion of North Marginal, and then we're doing all this without taking any public right-of-way permanently. It's all going to be temporary easements to do the construction. And here are a couple additional renderings. This one's on the western end in front of Burke Lakefront Airport. And this one's on the eastern end in front of Shoreline Apartments, close there to East 55th Street. So yeah, with that, oh, here's one more slide, I believe. Yeah, this is the schedule. We are about a quarter delayed on the schedule, but the timeline otherwise remains unchanged. So it's about 2 years from start to finish, slightly less, about 20 months start to finish for construction, once we do sell the job. So, thank you.
All right, thank you. So talk about the terms. Director, can you talk about the terms of this agreement? Can you brief us on the terms of this agreement, the time frame?
Sure. Commissioner DeGennaro, would you like to go into that?
Yes, the term of the agreement, the maintenance, operation and maintenance agreement with Metro Parks will be for 20 years with, I believe it's 3, I may need, 5 additional renewal terms. So a total of
20 years, five 20-year option?
5 20-year, yes, one
Yeah.
initial 20-year term with 5 20-year options.
So this is for maintenance only, that particular part of it?
Yes, yes, and actually, I am going to, Mr. Chairman, recognize Katie Moore, our Special Projects Manager from MOCAP, who has more of the detail about the agreements.
Yes, that's specific to maintenance, through the chair.
Okay, so the 99 years, what part is that for, just the easements part?
So that part, to the chair. So the 99 years refers to our submerged lands lease for the project. This is north of the natural shoreline. So we have within the city a master submerged land lease that is adjacent to this property, and we understand that there could be the ability to utilize that lease and extend it to cover this property. So we wanted the terms to match that existing lease term so that we could do that more cleanly.
Okay. All right, I'll open up for questions from my colleagues. Is there any questions?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Joe, can you bring me the legislation back?
I'm looking at it still. Can I look at it real quick while I answer my question, if that's okay?
Yeah, go ahead, Joe.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate your privilege of allowing me to commandeer all the legislation to ask these questions that I want to ask. You have this parceled out in the legislation as parcels 1 through 9, I believe. How many parcels do you have here total, Mr. Chairman, to our distinguished guest?
If I may, through the chair, I believe there are 17 City of Cleveland parcels.
Okay. So referred here in the actual ordinance is, for an example, parcel number 9-T1. Can you show me where that would be located here on the map?
Through the chair, we did not bring a rendering of that. All of the easements were temporary for staging, but we can provide that to you.
Okay, and so just, first let me just ask some questions just to kind of rule out some things here so I can understand exactly what we're talking about. Now, what you showed us is from the direction of East 155th Street over. So what it appears like is what we're talking about is improving the public right-of-way, creating a sidewalk, putting curbs there, putting what appears to be decorative fencing. Is that correct?
Through the chair to the councilman, yes, that's generally correct. There will be some decorative fencing. There's other with the FAA. John Hughes is here as well. John Hughes, sorry, John. He can describe. There's some requirements through the FAA of their fencing type, but Shoreline Apartments, their fencing will be replaced with decorative, and everything else, as you stated.
I see. Would we be doing anything other than just that sidewalk improvement? Will we be looking at other areas?
So from East 9th to East 55th, there will be lighting that will be added. We are working with the city too on the landscaping. I believe that will be subbed out and actually completed with the city. The city themselves will be doing the additional tree planting.
I see. So we have lighting, fencing, new sidewalk. Or it would be big enough for people to ride their bicycles and stuff like that. So how wide would that be? Because I know what it looks like now.
Through the chair to the councilman, it will be 10 foot at nearly all along the corridor. As I mentioned, there's about a 8-foot segment. There's a 100-foot stretch where it will be 8 feet only because there's a pinch point.
Okay. Now, in the ordinance, it talks about let me find it, please. Give me a moment. Can you talk a little bit about the adjacent submerged land leases and subleases? Can you explain to me what that is in this language? submerged?
Well, I'd like to have John, who we didn't introduce before, but he's with Port Control, to give an overview of our submerged land leases.
We're not talking about land underwater, of course, I would hope.
To the chair, the councilman, generally speaking, a submerged land lease is, so if you think three-dimensionally, this is sort of complicated, but the bottom of the lake, which has since been covered with fill, is owned in trust by the people of Ohio. And so in order to put something on top of the lake bottom, you need a submerged land lease. So these areas where we're talking about adding, amending current areas where we have a submerged land lease to include these areas where we currently don't have site control, currently do not have a submerged land lease. So this legislation would allow us to get basically this property under site control for the city of Cleveland, and then subsequently sublease it, in this case through the agreement with the Metro Parks to manage the property.
Can you show, so that, is that something different than what the presentation is about in terms of sprucing up the sidewalks and all of that? Is that something separate from this? Is that something somewhere else?
As far as existing submerged land leases, are you? So I don't.
Based upon how you described it just now, right? It gives me a concept that you want to do something more, but it's not in this presentation.
To the chair of the councilman, so we have existing submerged land leases. Just as a landmark that may help you out is like the Burke parking lot we have under a submerged land lease 70, and that's part of, it was referenced earlier before, that's the master submerged land lease. So it would allow us to add this land to that submerged land lease.
So it wouldn't be no add-on somewhere, futuristically speaking, doing something else other than what you have advocated for?
To the chair of the councilman, that's correct.
I see. And so, Mr. Chairman, and I'll pass this legislation back to you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Starr. The question I would have is, you talk about a foundation. What foundation are we working with to help to get funds, and how much funds have we gotten for the project thus far?
Through the chair to the councilman, so far to date, the Mandel Foundation has granted $5 million through the Cleveland Metro Parks to this project. We're also receiving money through NOACA, their carbon reduction program. We're receiving an additional $5.6 million. The remainder is to be split between the city of Cleveland and Cuyahoga County.
Do we know? So that, what's that total?
So it's a little over 300,000. Closer to it's closer to 500,000, but the city's responsible for 130K.
Okay. And then, Mr. Chairman, finally, the Metro Parks will be the people who will be maintaining and putting this together, maintaining it over the course of time.
Through the chair to the councilman, yes. The Metro Parks will be the maintenance.
I see. Would they also, Mr. Chairman, or would that be the responsibility of the lights? Would we be responsible for the lights, or would they be responsible? How does that work?
I believe that falls to city utility.
I see. And Mr. Chairman, to the team who's put this together, I think this will be a great, wonderful addition to this road. It has for so long been a really difficult place to walk. I know that for personal reasons. When I was a kid, I used to go to Aviation High School, so we would catch the bus downtown and walk all the way if we missed the school bus. And sometimes I missed the school bus and had to walk down that road. So it was really difficult to see this improvement, and then hopefully to see more improvements in that area and more investments in that area. And I hope, Mr. Chairman, that with this here, this will spur people to invest in those properties and see that side of eastern side over here as a place where they can develop and have a really nice place like what we see over in Edgewater eventually at some point. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. No further questions, and congratulations to all those who've been working on the project. Appreciate what you guys do for us here in the city. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Councilman Jones. Is there any other questions on ordinance number
Mr. Chair.
227?
Yes.
Councilman Anthony Harris.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. 2/3 of this is in Ward 10. A part of it is in Councilman McCormick's ward. I did have an opportunity to be briefed by the team here. And, I think this conversation started when I was at the county, if I'm not mistaken. I was there from 14 to 17, 18 rather, before I came here. And so glad to see this is moving forward. Just a few questions that I don't think I asked at our last briefing. Any of the frontage of like Shoreline Apartments and some of the other selling Forest Hill and Lakeside, will they lose any of the frontage there where their properties are located?
Through the chair to the councilman, I'm just going to move this. No, there will be reconfiguration there, but they're not going to actually. Part of their frontage right now, the fence line, is actually falls within the public right-of-way. So that will be reconfigured to make sure it's without outside of the public right-of-way.
All right, so they won't lose any of their property here?
They're keeping their parking. It's being reconfigured.
It's being reconfigured.
Yep.
And we've spoken to them. They are okay with this?
We have, and there's a new management team over there as well, from what we understand. But they're okay with the project. Yep.
Okay. I just reached out to them to find out, make sure that, they are fully in support of this piece, because this is going to come to my committee as well, I believe. And so if we don't get this, if I don't hear back from them, but the yacht clubs and Selden Incorporated, would there be any reconfiguration with the front of their properties as well?
Not on those properties, no.
None of those properties. So Shoreline's really the only one that's going to be impacted. And you mentioned through the chair, the 100 feet of, what did you call it?
There's a pinch point of about 100 feet.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's going around that bend from Shoreline as you get to 55th, if I'm not mistaken?
It's right directly east of the Cleveland public property and Forest City Yacht Club,
Gotcha.
right through there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, and the sidewalk through the chair will extend to East 55th itself, right? It'll go around the bend to 55th?
To the councilman through the chair, yes, it will. You can see on the slide currently on the screen where the path, it actually is just to the west of East 55th Street. Do you see where the green is on the slide there?
Mm-hmm.
So it's just directly west of that the public path will be constructed towards.
Okay, that's fine. That's just through the chair. I see that, the green, but then on your picture, it shows like it stops right at the property that Shoreline owns next to their current building. It kind of like stops there. So, but your green line shows through the chair that extends around. So I want to be clear on that. Okay, and none of the submerged land leases through the chair are going to be affected that are currently held by Shoreline, the yacht clubs, and others. So none of those will be affected, correct? Through the chair?
No, those will not.
Okay, so nobody will be, their current submerged land lease will not be affected through this project?
That's correct. Yep.
Okay. All right, thank you. And then lastly, Mr. Chair, City Council has been a part of this project as well. I see the City of Cleveland seal up here, but I want to make sure that Cleveland City Council is added to this, seal is added to this project as well. Whether it is through the presentations, press releases, any and all documents related to this connector that the other partners are listed, that Cleveland City Council be added to this as well as a partner. All right? Very, very important. And that's all for me, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Councilman Harrison. Is there any other questions on ordinance 227? Councilman Casey?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, to whomever can answer this question, did I hear you say correctly that Cleveland Public Power will be the electric that will be providing the electricity for the lights?
Yes, as part of the right-of-way lighting for vehicles.
Okay, thank you.
All right, is there any other questions?
Lastly, Mr. Chair, was any plan submitted to Planning Commission that showed the decorative lighting, any other designs or no? Was any of that submitted to Planning Commission or no? Or fencing?
Through the chair, it was a mandatory referral, not a design review item. We can share those. So to answer your question, I don't think Planning Commission actually weighed in on the design. but,
Okay.
Yeah.
That's fine. If you can share those either before the next committee meeting or whatever. I'm interested to see what the fencing looks like and the lighting looks like. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right, seeing no further questions, ordinance number 227 stands approved. Please sign.
I do. I have two more.
Thank you.
Okay, ordinance number 108, 2024, by council members McCormick, Bishop, Harrison, and Griffin, by departmental request. An emergency ordinance authorizing the Director of Capital Projects to execute a deeds of easement granting to adjacent property owners their successors and assign certain easement rights in property located in the Flats East Bank development area and declaring that the easement rights granted are not needed for the city's public use. Okay, Director?
Yep, thank you very much.
That,
So
Mr.
the city owns property located off of Main Avenue, and this property provides access to the Flats development near Front Avenue and Old River Road. The city previously entered into a lease agreement with the Flats East Management in 2015 to construct and maintain the use of the property for roadway access. Since then, there have been some construction requirements that have been put up on the developer and have caused us to make some adjustments to how we want to grant them that non-exclusive easement. And Commissioner will go into the details of the context of what that new agreement looks like and why we had to make these changes.
Thank you. So when the Flats roadway was constructed, it was required by the EPA and NORCID to be constructive of permeable pavers, which are not considered to city standards. So the city was not able to accept a dedication of that roadway or a standard highway easement over that property. So effectively, you have roadway and the abutters to the roadway are landlocked. So every time they go to sell a property or refinance a property, a title issue arises with them not having access to a public roadway. So by granting this easement, will alleviate that problem. It's a non-exclusive access easement for access to these roadways, which will allow the owners to do what they need to do with their real estate without having title issues because of the roadway not being dedicated.
Okay. All right. Is there any questions on ordinance number 108, 2024?
Mr. Chairman, do you have a map that shows that, the area in the Flats East Bank?
Through the chair to Councilman Jones, there should be a map in your packet. It's sort of a triangular-shaped roadway.
Maybe is there a companion piece?
I brought a copy. You got it? Okay.
I don't.
Here.
Okay, hold on. It just gives a description. Okay, I see a map here. Thank you.
All right. Is there any other questions on ordinance number 108, 2024? All right. Seeing no further questions, ordinance number 108, 2024 stands approved. You say 111?
Yes.
All right.
Do we know?
Hold on, Councilman Jones.
Is that the one we just?
Okay, ordinance number 111, 2024, by council members Kelly, Bishop, Harrison, and Griffin, by departmental request. This is an emergency ordinance authorizing the mayor and the commissioners of purchasing and supplies to sell certain city-owned property no longer needed for the city's public use located on West 130th Street to 3945 West 130th Properties LLC and/or its designee for the purposes of redevelopment. Okay, Director.
Yep, I will let our commissioner kind of jump into the details of this one.
Happy to. Thank you, Director. So the city owns this vacant parcel. It's near the Interstate 71. It's basically, we were approached by the owner to the north who owns a gas station. He is seeking to add 6 EV charging stations to his property. He's going to make improvements to the property, landscaping, lighting, and so forth. The lot is approximately 40 by 108. It's about 4,300 square feet. The land will be sold at appraised value of $8,400. And I'd like to note that we've had several suitors for this property over the years, and I think one of the things that MOCAP does well is to vet these proposals and not just jump at the chance to unload a city property for, to the first person that comes along. We worked with the councilman's office and with city planning to make sure that this was a net benefit to the neighborhood, so happy to.
Okay, Commissioner, whose ward is this in?
This is Ward 11, Councilman Kelly.
Councilman Kelly? Is Councilman Kelly, have you got his approval?
Yes, he is in support.
Okay, is there any questions on ordinance number 111, 2024?
Yes. Who's the owner of the gas station?
Hold on, Councilman Jones. Councilman Jones.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Who's the owner of the gas station?
His name is Ibrahim. Let's see if I have his last name in my notes anywhere. I can't remember his last name. I can get that information to you. We did meet with him. He runs a nice business. He's improved that gas station. When he bought it, it was in poor condition. He's made a lot of improvements to it. He's planning to put in a little cafe for people to wait while they're charging their vehicles, which is kind of a nice touch, being that it's near the freeway.
And how many EVs are there going to be, Mr. Chairman, to the director?
Mr. Chairman and Councilman Jones, there will be 6.
Okay. No further questions, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
All right, is there any other questions on ordinance number 111? Seeing no further questions on ordinance number 111 is approved. Please sign it.
That's all I have.
Chairman, I do have one question on the previous 108, 2024 file. Just the question was, were they looking to do development there at that site location for the easement?
Okay, on
That's with the map.
ordinance number 108.
Yeah, the one with the map here.
Commissioner, can you answer that question?
Yes, through the chair to the councilman. One of the properties, a couple of the properties recently changed hands, and they are being redeveloped in some capacity. So yeah, that's sort of what prompted this. Although the lease does require that this easement be put in place, at some point, because I guess there was a realization that there would be an access issue without it. But I'm not aware exactly what the improvements are. I know that a couple of the restaurants changed hands and they're being revamped.
I see. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you, Councilman Jones. All right. Next up is ordinance number 29, 2024, by Council Members McCormick, Bishop, and Griffin by departmental request, an emergency ordinance accepting the offer of dedication of public right-of-way and public improvements shown on the recorded plat for Motiki Court. All right, Commissioner. Director, I'm sorry.
No worries, no worries. So we would like to ask that we accept the Moki Court Extension Road right-of-way. Moki Court is between West 25th to West 20th Street. It's an extension that was constructed by the developer. The developer has met all city street dedication requirements, and we would like to grant them the right-of-way to accept this road as our right-of-way.
Okay. All right. Is there any questions on ordinance number 29, 2024? All right. Seeing no questions on ordinance number 29, 2024, it's approved. Please sign it. Okay. Ordinance number 260, 2024, by Council Members Bishop and Griffin by departmental request, excuse me, authorizing the Director of Capital Projects to enter into one or more contracts with City Architecture, Inc. for the purpose, excuse me, for the purpose of establishing and executing a public engagement coordination program for the Office of Capital Projects for a period up to 2 years.
Yes, this Department of MOCAP, we are looking to improve our current public engagement outreach activities. We would like to expand on some new models that we've recently done for the North Coast Connection, the Master Plan Parks and Recreation Centers, and using different tools that will make sure that we outreach our communities and we can elevate everyone's voice and making sure that we are properly expressing and timely expressing the intricacies of our projects and also getting back information from our community. So this will be a kind of a system-wide scan on how we are currently conducting our public engagement activities, looking at our websites, looking at how we go out to the council meetings and the community meetings, how we are delivering the message. We want to make sure that we have consistency in our approach, and we want to do this to make sure we improve our contact rates with our constituents. So we are asking that the council approve the establishing and executing of this contract to work with City Architecture.
Okay, Director, so this, you're asking for $300,000, and that will be for 2 years, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And City Architecture, you work with this company currently?
Yes, we have worked with them currently. They have a very strong track record in our organization as well as throughout the city of Cleveland on a variety of projects.
Okay. All right, is there any questions on ordinance number 260, 2024? Councilman Jones?
Is this for, is this the city architecture service proposal? Can you kind of explain to me, Mr. Chairman, to Commissioner, are they helping to, tell me what they're actually going to be doing?
Sure. From the chairman to the councilman, I will let Jay Rosenbach, who is managing this contract, give you more details on that scope. But just to say that they're going to look at what we're doing currently to see how we can make improvements. I think there's a definite opportunity for us to make improvements on how we connect and communicate to our constituents, and they're going to outline that work for us. But I'll let Jay give any more additional details.
Sure. Through the chair, so as you're aware, capital projects, we work on parks, rec centers, lots of road projects, a lot of different things, and every department does their own public engagement in a slightly different way. So we're trying to make it all consistent. That way the public knows when a street project comes out, when a park project comes out, they know what to expect. They know engagement points are going to happen at certain points, so they know how to do input to those projects. So what City Architecture is going to do is they're going to talk to all of us, figure out what the type of projects we have and what we need for our specific projects. Then they'll go out to the public and talk to them and say, hey, when a park project is coming on, what do you want to hear? How do you want to engage with that? That way we'll take both informations, put it together for City Architecture to say, hey, we know what you're doing, we know what the public wants. Let's figure out how to mesh those two processes together. That way we can figure out a consistent process system-wide across MOCAP projects. And they're going to help us figure that out, then actually test a couple projects with us to make sure we're doing things correctly, maybe some adjustments as we go along the way. Those are our pilot projects we're going to do with them. The first one's going to be, they're going to lead it, we're going to help support. The second project's going to be kind of together. Then the third project is we're going to lead and they're going to support us. That way we can kind of transition into doing it ourselves, be more comfortable, and we'll tweak it along the way.
Right. Would that also, Mr. Chairman, would that also mean that you would help out with projects that are road projects too, bringing that to the public?
That's correct. It's going to be any capital project office projects. That would be parks, rec centers, street paving, maybe not street repaving, but those bigger projects that require public engagement, we want to get those folks engaged.
I see. And I think that Mr. Chairman, this is, really good to support this for a number of reasons, I believe. There was, Mr. Chairman, and I'm not sure if are you working with Parks right now? Were you the gentleman that interviewed me, Mr. Chairman?
Through the chairman, that's correct. Our project interviewed.
Okay, good. So, Mr. Chairman, I will say this, is that sometimes the bureaucrats who are here working for the people don't necessarily, we work for the people, so we know what they're going to say. And so we will be meeting, and this is for your edification while you're sitting here, because this is important. When I'm telling you this is what my people want, this is what my people want. This is not what Joe Jones wants. So we've had a couple of meetings in my neighborhood that, I just felt that the public expressed what they felt and what they wanted to see the project like, one of them being East 131st Street. This is before I became councilman, and we had the city out there and its representatives out there, and they didn't listen. They were not listening. The people came to them twice and said, hey, previously we met with you all. This is what you said you were going to do. Why isn't it not included in this program that you're bringing for us right now, in front of us right now? And now that street is a mess. It's a big mess. And so I'm just going to say that when I tell you that the people don't want a one-way traffic on Miles Avenue, they don't want it. We got so many issues right now in our neighborhood with those one-way streets. People are trying to get past one another. They're going into the middle lanes. They're crashing into each other. We've had to put a memorial bench down because someone was killed because of how crazy the traffic has gotten. And then with the decrease of our police and actually no at all whatsoever traffic enforcement is happening on the east side. It's not happening in the southeast like it should. And so these people have lost their minds. So it's good, Mr. Chairman, to see that you're there to help us, to listen to the needs of the public, and as well as to balance getting the investment needed, not only to listen, but to also make our roadways safe. So I'm glad to see you here. I hope that you heard what I had to tell you about parks, and hopefully that will be implemented in a way that we as a city can better serve our public. Because at the end of the day, for me, it is about how well we serve our public. And part of serving our public is being able to listen. Talk less, listen more. And so with that, Mr. Chairman, I don't have no unreadiness in this. I think that MOCAP deserves to have this, and $300,000 would go for 2 years, is what it sounds like, Mr. Chairman, to the commissioner.
The chair, that's correct, 300,000.
All right, and then you're going to be working on all the projects, or is it, Mr. Chairman, a limited view of projects?
Through the chairman, we're going to do 3 test pilots, but this will apply to all capital projects going forward. This will be our template to use going forward.
I see. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, Councilman Rich Starr.
Yes, Chair. I know we're wrapping up, and I'll be real brief. Through the chair to the table, I just wanted to let you know that, is it Alex Pesta in your department?
He's with City Architecture.
City Architect.
Principal there.
Oh, the principal. So I know Ordinance 260 was brought attention possibly around the week of March 11th, and we knew we was going to schedule this meeting after we came back from conference. But I think Alex took to Twitter and was engaging, I guess, with some folks, and one of the things he tweeted out was Cleveland has some of the strongest gatekeeper behavior. Classic topics are covered: height, rental, traffic, and parking. Next comes attacking the process. The article fails to mention Greater Cleveland RTA, number 22 bus line, goes right down Lorraine, NIMBY, and then he got a picture of like a meme or something. And I would say first, I know it's tough sometimes when we're doing different projects, but when we taking work-related stuff to social media, it does give president, as some residents said, as feeling disrespectful. Oftentimes throughout this years, long before all of us got here, it has been a lack of trust. with city government, and there's been a lot that we've been dealing with. And I believe through this current administration and through the work of this body, we've been working on getting things together. So I would definitely just want to bring it to y'all attention to tell Alex, trolling on Twitter, it comes out as seem as if people are feeling attacked. I know I feel at times attacked as well as an elected official, but when he's working for the people, he got to remind himself that they may ask every question under the sun, and they have the right to. They are taxpayers. They are those who are involved. But him going out there and putting those type of tweets is not a good look for the city. It's not a good look to the residents, and it's also not a good look for us to hear that from residents as they sent it over. So I just wanted to make sure I just inform y'all that Alex, I don't know any HR policy as it relates to social media, but I definitely will want him to know that I know this is not something that you and your department or MOCAP does on a regular, and y'all do not tolerate that. I just wanted to bring that awareness to tell Mr. Alex to please don't be using those type of language because it is viewed as disrespectful to Cleveland residents, and that should not be tolerated at all. So I just wanted to bring that up.
Thank you for that. And may I say to the chair, to the councilman, we have been in conversations with Alex Pesta. He is a strong advocate of the community and development. That exchange was cut and paste and taken out of context of the true basis of what he was saying in that text. And it was even noted in the person that originated that text how they were representing that information back out to, I think, try to put him in a certain position. So without him being here to be able to defend himself, I do at least want to say that on his behalf, we have spoken to him about the text, and he gave a very good explanation and chronicled the actual information that was distributed.
Thank you for that clarity. Thank you.
All right. Are there any other questions on ordinance number 260? Councilman Harrison?
Yes, thank you. I noticed through the chair in the summary that this work has already begun. So this is where we had to come back here because a different source you couldn't use. So this is going for 23 work and 24 work through the chair?
The work has not begun. We did have to pause because of the funding source. We were not able to use capital funds. It was determined that they cannot be used for public engagement work. So we had reallocated to use operating funds for this, and the actual scope will now be 24, 25.
So they did no work through the chair?
Correct, they did no work.
They did no work?
We
Okay.
had a meeting because we thought we were moving forward. We had a preliminary meeting, but no work was completed on this task.
Okay. All right, thank you to the chair. And this is the first I'm hearing about these comments or these tweets about Mr. Pesta, city architecture. I've known Alex for quite some time, so I'd be interested to hear from him, the basis of those that tweet or comment made on social media. In fact, he and his group actually did the St. Clair Superior Rediscover Plan for myself and Famiko's Foundation. And, we had a great experience with Mr. Pesta and his team. It started when August Fluker was there, and then he left, and the work continued. So I would be interested to hear, more detail about what was said. I'm not a Twitter person, social media person by no means. My colleague clearly is. And, we rely on him sometimes to share with us what's being said out there because, he's online. And so I would be interested to hear, I know you gave your comments, whether it's at the table or offline. I want to know a little bit more about, the comments and why they were said. All right?
Sure.
Thank you.
All right, Director. Any rebuttal?
Only one other comment is to give a special appreciation to Councilman Starr. We actually used one of our community engagement tools that we are piloting. It's a Wyatt tool. It's to look at well-being and how people respond to projects. So that is something we want to carry forth in this work that we do with city architecture.
Okay. All right. All right, seeing no further questions, ordinance number 260, 2024 is approved. Please sign. All right, and last but not least, ordinance number 2 2024 by Council Members McCormick, Bishop, and Hairston by departmental request, an emergency ordinance authorizing the directors of the Mayor's Office of Capital Projects to issue a permit to the Sherwin-Williams Company to encroach into the public rights of way of West 3rd Street, Frankfort Avenue, Public Square West Roadway, Superior Avenue, West Street, St. Clair Avenue, and West 6th Street by installing, using, and maintaining various objects. Okay, Director, can you speak on this piece of legislation?
Council Chairman, I will ask our engineer and construction manager, Rick Swistowski, to provide more details about this project.
To the chair, what this is an encroachment request. Sherwin-Williams, as you know, building their new world headquarters. They have a couple areas where they're going to encroach in the right-of-way, putting in, as those nameless item indicates, bollards, light poles, irrigation systems. There's like 8 or 10 different spots along their garage, office tower, and pavilion that they'll be placing these items. So just a number of encroachment permits that they're looking for in order to basically, in some cases, beautify the areas more, in other places for security measures.
Okay. All right. I'm going to go to questions. Councilman Brian Casey.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Not so much a question as a comment. The city has given Sherwin-Williams an awful lot with tax increment financing and any help that they needed to maintain their world headquarters. But when they turned around and they chose their electric supplier, they decided not to utilize the city's Cleveland municipally owned electric supplier. So on principle alone, Mr. Chairman, I'm a no vote on this. There's no sense for us to continue to allow them to put lights up and bollards and go with the city's competition in providing electricity for those. So just on principle alone, nothing so much except to take a stand eventually against Sherwin-Williams for not choosing the municipally owned electric supplier. So please mark me as a no on this piece of legislation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councilman Casey. All right, is there any other questions on ordinance number 323, 2024? 232.
Mr. Chair,
Councilman Harrison.
to the chair and to the department, and why couldn't they use CPP?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that, Councilman Harrison?
Why couldn't use CPP? Or
No,
something
they
like
could. Cleveland Public Power put a competitive bid in, but they chose not to go with Cleveland Public Power, and they chose First Energy over Cleveland Public Power. So as chair of utilities, I'm just taking a stand against Sherwin-Williams for not choosing our municipally owned electric company when they had the opportunity to do so, which comes back to what I believe the CBA and everything for downtown. So we know that we provided a very competitive bid, and they chose not to go with the bid, and they went somewhere else. So just on principle alone, right, I'm taking the stance not to allow them to not continue to put their nice lighting up around their world-class headquarters, so that, you know, it would just increase their electric bill and help out the competitor. I can't morally do that as chair of public utilities, to allow something that's going to help with the increased costs of them paying out to our competitor, which only hurts Cleveland Public Power. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right, Councilman Harrison, you done?
Yeah. I just didn't hear the comment about TPP. No, but I understand. Thanks.
All right, Madam Clerk, can you call the roll? Yes.
No.
No.
Yes.
All right, okay, so the yeas have it. All right. Is any other comments on ordinance number 232? Seeing no further comments, please sign. All right, Director. Any other pieces? All right, without further ado, the Municipal Services and Properties and Committee is now adjourned.